Rob, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today to share these resources. And one thing that I was curious about was what resources are available on campus. And as you go through this, if you could talk to us a little bit about the ways that you've seen those resources adapt to the COVID era and adapt to maybe asynchronous or remote formats.
Yeah, absolutely. I will tell you, there was a lot of over the summer, scrambling and trying to plan how we would adapt to a mostly remote campus and providing services and supports for all students, not just LGBTQ plus students. So we were part of a broader conversation within our division and also within the Dean of Students of how to broadly support students as they return to campus, either physically or remotely. So specifically for LGBTQ plus students, of course, you have our office, the Office of LGBTQI Life at the Casey Potter Center. We are physically still open, although we do have abbreviated hours. And we have, restrictions as to how many people can be in the space and, for how long, that type of stuff. And we've also set up a tent in between our office and the Women's Center. So sort of like a space where we're trying to, capture the casual chats and conversations that would happen when you're having lunch and somebody else just comes and sits next to you on the couch, right? Well, we can't sit on the couch in the Casey Potter Center, and so we wanted to have a space where maybe one or two people could sit outside, a little bit distant, and have a conversation over coffee or lunch or something. So we have some of those spaces available. We still also have all of our resources through the physical center itself. So we have, our food pantry is available. We have coffee and tea all the time, or during our open hours, which is 8 to 4:30. And we also have safer sex supplies and menstruation supplies. Like all of that stuff is still available. If you are on campus, that stuff is all still accessible to you. And that's the same for the Women's Center too. All of those student-centered spaces still have all those resources available. Now, as far as how we've adapted as a center to remote communities and trying to build remote communities, we've started a Discord platform, and not everyone is familiar with Discord, but it's sort of a social media platform, or not social media, but like a social gathering platform, where students can create their own unique groups and have conversation, play games. You can have a video call, you can have an audio call, you can listen to music together. You can do a lot of stuff. And so on our Discord platform, we run all of our affinity groups, which are, we currently have 12 affinity groups meeting, which provide support for students within the LGBTQI identity community. We provide places for them virtually to come together and talk about the unique issues that lay at the intersection of their identities. And so, for example, one of our biggest groups is our BiPAM fluid group. And so, they meet remotely once a month, and they talk about whatever issues students who have the identity of being bi, pan, or fluid, and how that impacts them as they're living through their life as Vanderbilt students daily. We have other ones like Blackout and Latinx and our Queer and Asian group, who talk about the intersections of race and ethnicity and their gender and sexual identity, right? So we have a lot of different groups that meet at different intersections within the LGBTQI community. So those all meet on Discord, and they're all peer run. Most of them are peer run. We have a few that are run by graduate students and staff on campus. But for the majority, they're peer run. So you're putting students in a position where they're providing and creating their own communities and supports for their peers. And it's a really great opportunity for students to also gain some leadership skills and to meet other folks that share their identity. So that's something that we're doing. We also have our staff still available. I'm working remotely. Our director, Chris, is working remotely. And our program coordinator, Jay, is doing sort of a hybrid remote and in-person situation, but we're all still available to support students. And even if that means meeting remotely, whether that's, I've talked to students just on the phone, over text or GroupMe or Discord, Zoom. There's a lot of ways that we've been engaging with students and being available to them. And that's not just us. There's other offices that are also doing very similar things. So those are often the first supports that faculty think of as far as referring students to us or referring students who are part of the LGBTQ plus community to a resource. It's often our office that faculty think of first, but we're not the only ones. The UCC also provides specific resources for LGBTQ plus students. So they have once a week, they have drop-in hours specifically for LGBTQ plus students. And right now that's on Tuesday afternoons. That might change, but that's all listed on our calendar. So that's once a week. They also have a once a week continuum group, which is a process-oriented group for LGBTQ plus students. And they meet weekly, and it's always, I always have really good reviews from students who attend. I know a number of students who attend that. And so that's been ongoing for a number of years. We also have Project Safe that has specifically LGBTQ plus drop-in hours once a week as well. Again, that's listed on our calendar. And of course, you can drop into Project Safe anytime and get the resources you need, but specifically they have some hours set aside just for LGBTQ plus students to get some resources and support. Also, a lot of folks don't think of other ways that students would get involved, LGBTQ plus students would get involved with campus activities. Not everybody needs the Office of LGBTQI Life. We're not going to be the answer for all students. We know that. And so we really rely on our campus partners, on faculty and other staff to know about some other things on campus that are happening, like the LGBT Policy Lab, which a lot of folks wouldn't think of first off as a resource, but again, not all LGBT students need incredible support or a lot of resources. Sometimes they just need a way to get plugged in, right? And the Policy Lab is a great way for that. They have talks and conferences. They're really engaging in the discourse around issues that impact LGBTQ plus folks every day. They also offer internships and that type of stuff. So it's a really great way for LGBT students to find a place, right? Again, they might not need all the supports and resources of the UCC or of our office, but this is another way for them to get plugged in. And then, we have Lambda, which is our LGBT student org, which is a great resource. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that faculty are a great resource for LGBTQ plus students also. I can't tell you the power that faculty have in creating a bond with an LGBT student and helping them, fully discover the way that their education and their gender and sexuality can cross paths and empower them to learn more, to grow, to develop. Those conversations that I know that students have with supportive and affirming faculty can be really profound and important. So I want to also say that, and I know this is a lot, so if you can't remember all of these things, there's also the Student Care Coordination Network. And if you will refer a student to them, they will help a student navigate all of these things, right? Because this is a lot to throw at a student. Like, here are the 10 resources that you could choose from on campus, right? And to not know in depth any detail about each one of them, it's hard to decide which one a student should go to. And a lot of times that's overwhelming for students. And so if you can, just shoot somebody an email in my office and say, hey, I have this student, can I connect you with them? Or you can reach out to the Student Care Network, and they can really sit down with the student and explain all the resources that are available and the way that their support and network could look on campus for them or remotely for them.
Thank you so much, Rob. That level of detail is so incredibly useful to me because that allows me to give students an idea of what they're headed into when I refer them places. And so I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your time with that today.
Happy to, thanks.